Family is supposed to be your safe haven, not your battlefield. When my sister-in-law called the police on me over a simple scraped knee, I never imagined my decision to stop babysitting would cause her entire life to crumble. But sometimes, standing your ground is the only way to show people the true consequences of their actions. Before I dive into this wild story, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your location in the comments, hit that like button if you've ever had to set boundaries with difficult family members, and subscribe to join our growing community of real-life storytellers. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. I'm Charlotte Wells, 32 years old, and I've dedicated my career to helping children as a pediatric nurse at Riverside Community Hospital. I've always been particularly close with my older brother Marcus, who's 35 and works as a financial analyst. When he met Vanessa 6 years ago, I was genuinely happy for him and made every effort to welcome her into our family. They seemed perfect together, both ambitious professionals with similar life goals. Their wedding was beautiful, and I was honored to be a bridesmaid despite only knowing Vanessa for 10 months at that point. When they announced they were expecting twins 2 years later, I was ecstatic. I'd always loved children, and being an aunt seemed like the perfect role for me, especially after my divorce from Richard had left me questioning whether I'd ever have kids of my own. Ethan and Emma were born healthy and beautiful, and from the moment I held them, I felt a special connection. At first, my relationship with Vanessa was cordial. We weren't best friends, but we respected each other and could enjoy family gatherings without tension. I noticed she could be a bit particular about things the twins' schedule, what they ate, who held them, but I chalked it up to new mom anxiety and tried to be understanding. After my divorce 3 years ago, I moved back to my hometown of Millfield to be closer to family. I bought a small but comfortable 2-bedroom house just 15 minutes from Marcus and Vanessa's place and about 20 minutes from our parents, Eleanor and Howard. Mom and Dad were thrilled to have both their children nearby, especially with the grandkids to dote on. As the twins grew from babies to toddlers, I spent more and more time with them. When they turned 2, Vanessa mentioned she wanted to go back to work part-time at a local boutique but was struggling to find affordable childcare. I immediately offered to help, since my nursing schedule gave me 3 days off each week. It seemed like the perfect arrangement. I got quality time with my niece and nephew, and Marcus and Vanessa saved money on childcare. For about 2 years, this system worked well. The kids and I developed wonderful routines. We'd go to the park, visit the library for story time, bake cookies, and create art projects. Ethan was always more reserved with a thoughtful nature that reminded me of Marcus as a child. Emma was the adventurous one, fearless and chatty, always ready to try new things. I treasured our time together and felt proud watching them grow and develop. But looking back, I can see the warning signs in Vanessa's behavior that I chose to ignore. She'd sometimes make passive-aggressive comments about my apartment being too small for active children or question why I let the kids have an extra snack. She'd inspect the twins from head to toe when she picked them up as if looking for evidence of neglect or mistakes in my care. My colleagues at the hospital often commented on what a devoted aunt I was, and I built my schedule around being available for the twins. I never asked for payment. These were my family members, not a job, though occasionally Marcus would bring me dinner or help me with home repairs as a thank you. Our parents tried to maintain a balanced relationship with both Marcus and me. Dad, a retired high school principal, was always the diplomatic one, while Mom tended to speak her mind more freely. They adored their grandchildren and supported Marcus and Vanessa, but Mom occasionally mentioned to me that she found Vanessa a bit high-strung. The past 3 months before the incident, tensions had been rising. Vanessa began texting me constantly while I was with the children, demanding updates and photos every hour. She criticized my choices more openly, questioning why I took them to a public playground instead of the cleaner one in her neighborhood, or complaining that I returned them too tired or too hyper. I tried to accommodate her concerns while gently establishing that I was competent to make basic childcare decisions. The weekend before everything exploded, Vanessa had made a comment at a family dinner that still stung. "It's nice that Charlotte has the twins to practice with since she doesn't have children of her own." The implication that I was using her children as substitutes for my own hurt deeply, but I swallowed my pride and let it go for the sake of family harmony. Little did I know that was just the calm before the storm. It was a beautiful Saturday in May when everything fell apart. The weather was perfect, sunny but not too hot, ideal for a day at Oakwood Park. I'd picked up the twins at 9 a.m. as usual with plans to have them back by 4 p.m. Vanessa had been particularly nitpicky that morning, reminding me 3 times about Emma's sunscreen allergy, which I'd known about since she was an infant, and insisting I text her when we arrived at our destination. Ethan and Emma were in great spirits that morning, excited about our adventure. We packed a picnic lunch, their favorite stuffed animals, and a bag of outdoor toys. The park was busy but not crowded, with several families enjoying the playground and open green spaces. The twins immediately headed for the swing set, taking turns pushing each other with my supervision. After about an hour of playground time, we moved to the grassy area for some ball games. Ethan was trying to catch a beach ball when he tripped over a tree root and fell. It wasn't a serious fall, but he scraped his knee on the rough ground. He started crying immediately, more from surprise than pain, I suspected. "It's okay, buddy," I soothed, examining the scrape. It was minor, about the size of a quarter with just a tiny bit of blood. Nothing unusual for an active 4-year-old. Drawing on my nursing experience, I immediately cleaned the wound with antiseptic wipes from my first aid kit, which I always carried, applied antibiotic ointment, and covered it with a colorful dinosaur bandage. "Look at that awesome bandage," I said, giving Ethan a reassuring hug. "You're being so brave." He sniffled a bit, but was quickly distracted when a golden retriever walked by with its owner. Within 5 minutes, he was back to playing the minor injury forgotten in the way that resilient children often bounce back. We continued our day without incident, enjoying our picnic lunch and feeding ducks at the pond. As we were packing up to leave, Emma spotted an ice cream truck at the park entrance. Both kids looked at me with those pleading eyes that are impossible to resist. "Can we get ice cream, Aunt Charlotte? Please." Emma batted her eyelashes dramatically, making me laugh. I checked my watch, it was 3:15 p.m., and we were supposed to be back by 4 o'clock. "Sure, we have time for a quick treat," I decided. They each selected a simple vanilla cone, and we sat on a bench to enjoy them before heading home. Between the ice cream stop and traffic being heavier than expected due to a local festival, we arrived at Marcus and Vanessa's house at 4:30 p.m., half an hour later than planned. I hadn't thought to text about the delay since it wasn't significant, and the kids were perfectly happy. The moment we walked through the door, I knew something was wrong. Vanessa was pacing in the living room, phone in hand, her expression thunderous. "Where have you been?" she demanded, not even greeting the children. "I've been calling you for 40 minutes. I checked my phone and realized it was on silent from our library visit earlier in the week. "I'm so sorry," I apologized. "We stopped for ice cream and then hit some traffic. The kids are fine." That's when she noticed Ethan's bandaged knee. Her eyes widened as if I'd returned him, missing a limb. "What happened to him?" she interrupted, rushing to Ethan and crouching to examine the bandage. "He just had a little fall at the park," I explained calmly. "It's a minor scrape. I cleaned and bandaged it properly." Ethan nodded. "I fell, Mommy, but Aunt Charlotte fixed it. And then we saw a dog named Buddy." But Vanessa wasn't listening. She was already peeling back the bandage, making Ethan wince. "Ouch, Mommy. That hurts," he protested. "You let him get injured," she said, her voice rising. "And, you didn't even bother to tell me?" I was taken aback by her reaction. "Vanessa, it's a scrape. Children get them all the time. As a nurse, I'm more than qualified to handle minor injuries." "Don't you dare use that condescending tone with me," she snapped. "These are MY children, not yours. You should have called immediately." Emma, sensing the tension, moved closer to me. "Mommy, why are you mad? We had fun with Aunt Charlotte. Go to your room, both of you," Vanessa ordered. The twins hesitated, looking confused and upset. "It's okay," I told them gently. "Go play in your room for a bit while Mommy and I talk." Once they were upstairs, Vanessa unleashed her fury. "You were late, you didn't answer your phone, you let Ethan get hurt, and you gave them sugar right before dinner. You're completely irresponsible." "That's unfair," I replied, keeping my voice steady despite my rising anger. "It was half an hour, Vanessa, and accidents happen. He's perfectly fine." "How would you know what's fine for children? You don't have any of your own," she spat, echoing her hurtful comment from the previous weekend. That stung, but I remained professional. "I may not be a mother, but I'm a pediatric nurse with years of experience. That scrape doesn't even need a bandage medically. I just put one on because kids like them." "Well, I've had enough of your so-called expertise," Vanessa declared, picking up her phone. "I'm calling the police." I thought she was bluffing. "The police? For what?" "Child endangerment," she said coldly, already dialing. "You returned my son injured and failed to notify me." I stood there in shock as she actually made the call, describing the situation as if I'd brought Ethan home with a broken limb and deliberately kept her in the dark. I could hear the dispatcher questioning the severity, but Vanessa insisted they send someone immediately. 20 minutes later, Officer Calvin Thompson arrived at the house. By then, I had moved to the kitchen, trying to process what was happening. The twins had come downstairs, sensing something was wrong. Officer Thompson was professional, but clearly puzzled by the call. He spoke with Vanessa first, then asked to speak with me privately. "Ma'am, can you explain what happened today?" he asked. I recounted the events calmly, showing him my credentials as a registered nurse and explaining my relationship to the children. "May I see the injury in question?" he requested. We called Ethan over, who was confused by all the attention. Officer Thompson examined the small scrape, now barely visible beneath the bandage. "And you treated this with proper first aid?" he confirmed. "Yes. Antiseptic cleaning, antibiotic ointment, and a bandage. Though, medically, the bandage wasn't necessary. It was just to make him feel better," I explained. Emma piped up unexpectedly. "Aunt Charlotte always takes care of us. She has a special doctor bag and everything." Officer Thompson smiled at her, then asked both children a few gentle questions about their day. Their answers clearly indicated they had a wonderful time and felt safe with me. Just as he was wrapping up, Marcus arrived home, looking confused and alarmed to find a police car in his driveway. "What's going on?" he asked, looking between Vanessa and me. "Your wife called the police because Ethan scraped his knee at the park," I said, unable to keep the hurt from my voice. Officer Thompson took Marcus aside and explained the situation. I could see my brother's face cycling through confusion, embarrassment, and anger. When they finished talking, Officer Thompson addressed us all. "I don't see any evidence of negligence or endangerment here," he stated firmly. "This appears to be a routine childhood injury that was properly treated. Mrs. Wells," he turned to Vanessa, "I should warn you that filing false reports is taken seriously. In the future, please reserve emergency services for actual emergencies." Vanessa's face flushed red. "So you're just gonna let her off the hook? She brought my son home injured." "Kids get scrapes, ma'am," Officer Thompson replied patiently. "It's part of growing up." "Now, I'll be on my way. I suggest you folks work this out as a family. After he left, the silence in the house was deafening. The twins were clinging to Marcus, who looked shell-shocked. Vanessa stood with her arms crossed, unrepentant. I can't believe you did that, I finally said, my voice shaking. You called the police, saw me over a scraped knee. I did what any good mother would do, Vanessa insisted. I protected my child. Marcus finally found his voice. Vanessa, this is insane. Charlotte is family. She loves the kids. So you're taking her side? Vanessa challenged. I couldn't bear to be in the middle of their argument. Tears were threatening, and I didn't want the twins to see me cry. I should go, I said, gathering my purse. Emma ran to me, wrapping her arms around my legs. Don't go, Aunt Charlotte. Are you in trouble? No, sweetie, I assured her, kneeling down to hug her properly. Everything's fine. I just need to go home now. Will you come back tomorrow? Ethan asked, his lower lip trembling. I couldn't answer, looking instead to Marcus, who seemed equally at a loss. Vanessa answered for me. Aunt Charlotte needs a break from babysitting, she said with false sweetness. Say goodbye now. I hugged both children tightly, then walked out without looking at Vanessa. As I got into my car, I could see Marcus watching from the doorway, his expression torn between family loyalties. I drove away with tears streaming down my face, humiliated and heartbroken, knowing something fundamental had just broken in our family. The drive home passed in a blur. My hands shook on the steering wheel as I replayed the afternoon's events. Had I done something wrong? Should I have called Vanessa about the scrape? Was I truly irresponsible, as she claimed? No matter how I analyzed it, I couldn't justify her extreme reaction. Calling the police felt like a deliberate attempt to humiliate me, to establish dominance in our relationship. Once home, I collapsed onto my couch, the adrenaline crash, leaving me exhausted. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. I'm so sorry about today. Vanessa overreacted. Can we talk? I couldn't bring myself to respond. What was there to say? His wife had just accused me of endangering their children I loved more than anything. If he couldn't stand up to her in the moment, what difference would a phone call make now? An hour later, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Marcus standing there, looking haggard. Can I come in? He asked softly. I stepped aside without a word. We sat in my small living room, the silence stretching between us. Charlotte, I don't know what to say, he finally began. What Vanessa did was wrong. Then why didn't you stop her? I demanded, hurt making my voice sharp. I wasn't there when she called. By the time I got home, the officer was already there. He ran a hand through his hair. Look, she's been under a lot of stress lately with work, and she's always been overprotective of the kids. Don't make excuses for her, I interrupted. This wasn't being protective. This was vindictive. Marcus sighed heavily. You're right, I know you're right, but she's my wife, and I'm your sister. I finished for him. The sister who's been providing free childcare for your kids for 2 years without complaint. The sister who loves those children like they're my own. I know, he said miserably. What can I do to fix this? I took a deep breath, the decision crystallizing in my mind. But I need you to understand something. I won't be babysitting anymore. Not after this. Charlotte, please. No, I said firmly. Vanessa crossed a line today that can't be uncrossed. She called the police on me. Marcus, do you understand what that could have done to my career, if the officer had been less reasonable? I could have faced questions at work, had my judgment as a nurse called into doubt. He looked stricken. She didn't think about that. Exactly. She didn't think, or worse, she didn't care. I wiped away a stray tear. I love Ethan and Emma, and I want to be part of their lives, but I will not put myself in a position where Vanessa has power over me again. Marcus stayed for another hour, alternating between apologizing and trying to convince me to reconsider. Eventually, he left with my decision unchanged, promising to talk to Vanessa about making amends. The next morning, I called my best friend Olivia for coffee. I needed an outside perspective from someone who wasn't family. She did what? Olivia exclaimed when I told her the story. Over a scraped knee? Girl, that is beyond ridiculous. Am I overreacting by refusing to babysit anymore? I asked, still second-guessing myself. Absolutely not, Olivia assured me. If anything, you're underreacting. I wouldn't even be speaking to her after that kind of stunt. Olivia's validation helped, but it didn't ease the ache of missing the twins. For 2 years, they had been a central part of my life. I'd arranged my work schedule around them, planned activities for us, watched them grow and develop. The thought of not seeing their smiling faces multiple times a week left a hole in my heart. Still, I remained resolute. This wasn't just about pride, it was about setting necessary boundaries. I couldn't be in a caretaking position for children whose mother might call authorities on me over trivial matters. The risk was too great, both personally and professionally. The first family dinner at my parents' house the following Sunday was excruciating. Mom had insisted everyone attend, determined to clear the air and restore family harmony. Vanessa arrived with Marcus and the twins, acting as if nothing had happened. She air-kissed my cheek and made small talk about the weather while I stood rigidly, responding with monosyllables. The twins, thankfully oblivious to the tension, were delighted to see me. Emma presented me with a drawing she'd made. Stick figures labeled Emma, Ethan, and Aunt Charlotte. Her spelling was still developing at what appeared to be a park. Ethan showed me that his knee was all better now, pulling up his pants leg as proof. Their innocent affection nearly broke my resolve. During dinner, Mom and Dad maintained a steady stream of neutral conversation while Vanessa smiled pleasantly, occasionally directing pointed comments my way. The twins have been asking when they get to go to Aunt Charlotte's again. They just love their little adventures with you. I remained non-committal, focusing on my meal and directing most of my attention to the children. After dinner, while Vanessa was helping Mom with dessert, Marcus pulled me aside in the hallway. "Have you thought any more about what we discussed?" he asked hopefully. "My decision hasn't changed," I said quietly but firmly. "Charlotte, she knows she overreacted. She just won't admit it directly." "Has she actually said that to you?" I challenged. Marcus hesitated. "Not in those exact words, but that's what I thought." I crossed my arms. "Look, I love Ethan and Emma, and I'm happy to spend time with them at family gatherings or even take them out occasionally when you present, but I won't be the regular childcare provider anymore." "We've been looking at other options," Marcus admitted, "but they're all so expensive, and the kids keep asking for you." "I'm sorry about that truly, but Vanessa made her choice." Marcus looked defeated. "What if she apologizes?" "A genuine apology might be a start, but it wouldn't change my decision about babysitting," I replied. When we returned to the dining room, Vanessa was serving pie with an artificial smile. "Everything okay?" she asked sweetly. "Charlotte was just explaining that she won't be available to watch the kids anymore," Marcus said, a hint of challenge in his voice. Vanessa's smile didn't falter. "That's fine. We'll find someone better suited. Someone with actual childcare qualifications, not just playing house with other people's children." The table fell silent. Dad cleared his throat uncomfortably while Mom's eyes widened at Vanessa's blatant rudeness. "Vanessa," Marcus hissed, "apologize. For what?" "Wanting the best care for our children," she replied innocently. "Charlotte's clearly not comfortable with the responsibility." I maintained my composure, though internally I was seething. "It's not about qualifications, Vanessa. It's about trust and respect, which are clearly lacking here." Later that evening, Mom called to check on me. "I had no idea things were so bad between you two," she said, concerned. "It's been building for a while," I admitted, "but calling the police was the final straw." "Your father and I understand your position," she assured me. "We just hate to see the family divided like this." What Mom didn't say, but, I later learned, was that Vanessa had been spreading her version of events to extended family members, painting me as negligent and herself as the protective mother. Cousin Rachel called to ask if I was doing okay after the incident with the twins, having heard from Vanessa that I had lost control while babysitting. These revelations only strengthened my resolve. If Vanessa was willing to damage my reputation within the family, what else might she do? The following week, I had a session with my therapist, Dr. Samantha Reed, who helped me process my feelings about the situation. "It sounds like you've set a healthy boundary," she observed, "but I'm hearing a lot of guilt about the children." "I miss them terribly," I admit it, "and I worry they think I've abandoned them." "Children are resilient, Dr. Reed reminded me. "And, you're not cutting them out of your life, you're just changing the nature of your relationship. That's an important distinction." Her words helped me begin reimagining my role as their aunt, present and loving, but with clearer boundaries. I could still be part of their lives without being Vanessa's convenient, free childcare solution. It would be different, but not necessarily worse. With this new perspective, I began to look forward rather than back, focusing on rebuilding my life with these new boundaries in place. 2 weeks after the police incident, my mother called with an update. "Vanessa's having trouble finding a babysitter," she reported. "She's called 3 different agencies, but either their rates are too high for her or they don't have availability on the days she needs." I felt a twinge of satisfaction, but squashed it immediately. This wasn't about wanting Vanessa to suffer. It was about standing my ground. "That's unfortunate," I replied neutrally. "How are the kids doing?" "They miss you," Mom said. "They keep asking when you're coming back. Vanessa tells them you're too busy, but Emma's not buying it." She's quite perceptive for a 4-year-old. That hurt to hear, but I reminded myself that Vanessa was the one creating this narrative, not me. "Next time you see them, please tell them I miss them too. Maybe we could arrange a playdate at the park or something with you there as well." A few days later, Dad mentioned that Marcus had taken 3 personal days off work to stay with the kids because Vanessa couldn't find coverage for her shifts at the boutique. Given Marcus's position at the financial firm, taking unexpected time off wasn't ideal for his career. Meanwhile, Vanessa's social media activity told its own story. Her Instagram, once filled with perfectly staged family photos and humble brags about her amazing balance of motherhood and career, had shifted dramatically. Now she was posting desperate pleas. "Any recommendations for reliable childcare in the Millfield area? So hard to find good help these days. And why is quality childcare so expensive? Working moms can't catch a break." I didn't engage with these posts, but I noticed the limited responses she received. It seemed Vanessa's reputation for being demanding had preceded her in our relatively small community. My former colleague Heather, whose daughter attended the same preschool as the twins, provided another perspective over lunch one day. "Vanessa cornered me in the parking lot yesterday," she revealed, "asked if I knew anyone who could watch the twins for reasonable rates. When I suggested the after-school program, she scoffed and said it was glorified warehousing of children. I think she's realizing what a good deal she had with you." Heather also mentioned that the twins had been acting out at preschool. "Emma had a meltdown during circle time yesterday, saying she wanted her Aunt Charlotte. The teacher said it's not the first time." This news pierced my heart. I hadn't anticipated how my absence might affect the children emotionally. Was I punishing them for their mother's actions? But then I reminded myself that I had offered to see them in other contexts. It was Vanessa who was creating an all-or-nothing situation. According to Mom, who still saw the family regularly, Vanessa and Marcus had hired a college student named Ashley to watch the kids 2 days a week, but she charged $15 per hour, significantly more than free, and wasn't available for the other days Vanessa worked. They were patching together coverage with my parents helping 1 day a week, though Mom made it clear they couldn't commit to more due to Dad's volunteer work and her book club and gardening commitments. Your father and I love the twins, Mom explained, but we're not looking to become primary caregivers at our age. We raised our children. The financial strain was becoming evident. Marcus had mentioned to Dad that they were considering pulling the twins from their swimming lessons to offset the childcare costs. Vanessa had also canceled her monthly spa day, a luxury she'd previously declared essential to her mental health. All this information came to me secondhand, as Vanessa and I weren't speaking directly. When we crossed paths at my parents' house, she was coldly polite, and I returned the same energy. Marcus looked increasingly stressed, the strain showing in the dark circles under his eyes and his distracted demeanor. About 3 weeks after the incident, Marcus called me late one evening. The twins have been asking about you constantly, he said without preamble. Would you consider coming over for dinner this weekend? Just to see them. Will Vanessa be okay with that? I asked skeptically. She suggested it, actually, he replied, though something in his tone made me doubt that. Marcus, is she really on board, or are you just saying that? His sigh told me everything. She didn't exactly suggest it, but she didn't object when I brought it up. The kids really miss you, Charlotte. I miss them too, I admitted, but I need to know this won't be another opportunity for Vanessa to create drama. I promise I'll be there the whole time, he assured me. No drama. I agreed tentatively, both eager and anxious about seeing the twins again. The dinner never happened though because 2 days later, Vanessa texted to cancel, citing a family emergency that later turned out to be nothing more urgent than Emma having a slight cold. Meanwhile, my parents reported that Vanessa had been trying to recruit other family members to help with childcare. She'd asked our cousin Megan, who had 3 children of her own, if she could add the twins to her routine 3 days a week. Megan had declined, citing her already full schedule. Vanessa had even approached my elderly Aunt Patricia, who was 72 and dealing with arthritis, suggesting the twins could keep her company during the day. Aunt Patricia had gently but firmly refused, telling Vanessa that while she loved seeing the children for short visits, full days of childcare were beyond her physical capabilities. These desperate attempts to secure free childcare were meeting with uniform rejection, leaving Vanessa increasingly frustrated and Marcus increasingly stressed. My feelings about the situation were complicated. There was a certain vindication in seeing Vanessa face the consequences of her actions, but I took no joy in the twins' distress or in Marcus' distress. I focused on self-care during this period, reconnecting with friends I'd neglected while prioritizing the twins, taking a pottery class I'd been interested in for years, and even going on a few casual dates. Then came the call I'd been half expecting. About a month after the incident, Marcus phoned me sounding utterly defeated. Charlotte, I hate to ask this, he began, but is there any chance you'd reconsider watching the kids, even just occasionally? Vanessa's manager at the boutique has threatened to reduce her hours if she can't maintain a reliable schedule, and we're running out of options. Has Vanessa agreed to this request? I asked, already knowing the answer. Not exactly, he admitted. But she's desperate, Charlotte. We both are. I'm sorry, Marcus, I truly am, but my answer hasn't changed. I'm happy to spend time with the twins, but not as your childcare solution, especially not without a genuine acknowledgement from Vanessa about what happened. She's too proud to admit she was wrong, Marcus said, frustration evident in his voice. Then I'm afraid we're at an impasse, I replied gently. This isn't about punishing her, Marcus. It's about protecting myself. After we hung up, I felt a renewed sense of sadness but also certainty that I was doing the right thing. Vanessa needed to understand that actions have consequences, a lesson she was clearly struggling to accept. 1 month after the incident, the situation escalated dramatically. Marcus called me on a Tuesday evening, his voice strained. Vanessa lost her job today, he said without preamble. What happened? I asked, genuinely concerned despite everything. She's missed too many shifts or shown up late. The final straw was yesterday. The babysitter canceled last minute. Vanessa couldn't find a replacement, and she had to call out again. He sounded exhausted. Her manager said they need someone more reliable. I felt a pang of empathy. Losing a job was serious, even if it was a part-time position at a boutique. I'm sorry to hear that, Marcus. How's she taking it? Not well, he admitted. She's blaming everyone but herself, the babysitter, her boss, even the twins for getting sick too often. And he hesitated. She's blaming you. Me? I couldn't hide my disbelief. How is this possibly my fault? She says if you hadn't abandoned the family, none of this would have happened. The quotation marks were audible in his tone. Charlotte, things are really bad at home. We're fighting constantly. The kids are picking up on it. I'm starting to think. He trailed off. What, Marcus? I'm considering a separation, he said quietly. I can't live like this anymore. She refuses to take any responsibility for anything. It's always someone else's fault. This revelation hit me hard. Despite everything, I hadn't wanted their marriage to fail, especially with the twins involved. Are you sure? Have you tried counseling? I've suggested it 3 times. She refuses, says there's nothing wrong with her. It's everyone else who's the problem. He sounded defeated. Could we meet for coffee tomorrow? Just you and me? I could use some advice from someone who knows the whole picture. We arranged to meet at a small cafe halfway between our workplaces the next day. Marcus arrived looking like he hadn't slept, his usually crisp work shirt wrinkled, his hair unkempt. "I don't know what to do," he confessed after ordering coffee. "I love Vanessa, or at least I love the woman I thought she was, but this past month has shown me a side of her I can't ignore anymore. The control issues, the refusal to accept responsibility, the way she manipulates situations to make herself the victim, it's exhausting." "How long has it been this way?" I asked gently. Looking back, I think the signs were always there, but I excused them. After the twins were born, it got worse, but I chalked it up to postpartum anxiety. Now I'm wondering if it's just who she is. He stared into his coffee. "The way she treated you, calling the police over a scraped knee, that was a wake-up call for me. If she could do that to you, who's been nothing but helpful and loving, what else might she do?" We talked for over an hour, with Marcus unpacking years of relationship dynamics I hadn't been privy to. I tried to listen without judgment, offering support without pushing him toward any particular decision. "Whatever you decide, I'm here for you," I assured him as we parted. "And for the twins, always." 3 days later, fate intervened in an unexpected way. I was in the cereal aisle at Martin's grocery when I heard a familiar voice shouting, "And Charlotte." I turned to see Emma running toward me, with Ethan close behind. Vanessa was at the end of the aisle, looking surprised and then annoyed. Emma threw herself into my arms, and I hugged her tightly, fighting back tears. "I missed you so much," she declared. Ethan joined the hug more reservedly, but clung just as tightly. "I missed you both too. So much," I said, kneeling to their level. "Why don't you come over anymore?" Ethan asked, his lower lip trembling slightly. "Mommy said you're too busy for us now." Before I could formulate an age-appropriate response, Vanessa approached, pushing her shopping cart deliberately between us. "Children, we need to finish shopping," she said coldly. "But we're talking to Aunt Charlotte," Emma protested. "Now, Emma," Vanessa insisted, her tone broking no argument. "Can't we just catch up for a minute?" I asked, trying to keep my voice light for the children's sake. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "We're in a hurry." "No, we're not, Mommy," Emma contradicted. "You said we could look at toys after shopping." Vanessa shot her daughter a look that made the child shrink back. "Emma, enough." "It's okay," I told Emma gently. "We can talk another time, I promise." "When?" Ethan asked plaintively. "You always used to take us to the park on Tuesdays, but you never came anymore." His innocent question broke my heart. "I'm sorry about that, buddy. Sometimes grown-ups have disagreements that make things complicated." "Did you and Mommy have a fight?" Emma asked perceptively. Vanessa interrupted before I could answer. "We need to go. Say goodbye to your aunt." The twins hugged me reluctantly, both looking confused and sad. As they walked away, I heard Emma ask, "Why is Aunt Charlotte not allowed to see us anymore?" And Vanessa's hushed angry response, "She decided she doesn't want to spend time with you anymore." That blatant lie infuriated me. I wanted to confront Vanessa right there, but causing a scene in the grocery store wouldn't help the children. Instead, I finished my shopping quickly and called Marcus as soon as I got to my car. "Vanessa is telling the twins I don't want to see them anymore," I said without preamble, my voice shaking with anger. "What? When did this happen?" I explained the grocery store encounter. Marcus swore under his breath. I had no idea she was saying that. No wonder they've been so confused and upset. "Marcus, that's parental alienation. It's harmful to the kids." "I know," he said grimly. "This is the last straw. I'm calling a lawyer tomorrow." That night, Marcus called again, sounding more resolved than I'd heard him in weeks. "I told Vanessa I'm considering separation," he said. "She didn't take it well." "I can imagine," I replied. "What happened?" "First denial, then rage, then tears and promises to change. The usual cycle." He sounded weary but determined. "I told her I need time to think. But honestly, Charlotte, my mind is pretty much made up. I can't raise my children in this environment anymore." The next day, I learned from my friend Grace, whose daughter was in the twins' preschool class, that Vanessa had had a public meltdown at a parent-teacher conference. According to Grace, Vanessa had become defensive when the teacher mentioned the twins seemed emotionally distressed lately, shouting that everyone was against her and storming out of the meeting. It was uncomfortable to witness, Grace told me over the phone. The teacher was just expressing concern, but Vanessa took it as a personal attack. Then she started ranting about family betrayal and how no one understands how hard it is to be a working mother. Everyone in the waiting area could hear. Word of this incident reached my parents, who finally took a firmer stance on the situation. Mom called me that evening. "Your father and I have been trying to stay neutral," she began. "But after what happened at the school today, we can't pretend anymore. Vanessa's behavior is affecting the twins, and that's not acceptable." Their support meant more than I could express. For weeks, I'd felt like I might be overreacting or being too harsh in my judgment of Vanessa. Having my parents validate my concerns was deeply reassuring. The next morning, I received a text from Vanessa. "I'm sorry if there's been a misunderstanding about your relationship with the twins. They miss you. Maybe we could arrange a visit soon." The non-apology was transparent. If there's been a misunderstanding, place no responsibility on her shoulders. And I strongly suspected Marcus or my parents had pressured her into sending it. Still, it was the first overture she'd made, however insincere. I replied carefully, "I miss them too. I'm happy to see them anytime. But for us to move forward, we need to address what happened directly. Your calling the police on me was unacceptable, and you're telling the children I don't want to see them is harmful to them." Her response came quickly and was exactly what I expected. I was protecting my children as any mother would. If you can't understand that, maybe you're not ready to be around them. Forget I offered. I forwarded the exchange to Marcus without comment. He called me an hour later. I saw the texts, he said. That's it. I'm done trying. I've called a lawyer, and I'm looking for an apartment. The marriage is over. While I felt sad for my brother and the twins, I couldn't help but feel this was the right decision. Sometimes relationships become too toxic to salvage, and from everything I'd seen and heard, Vanessa wasn't interested in taking responsibility or making changes. The stage was set for the final confrontation, which would come sooner than any of us expected. 6 weeks after the original incident, our father Howard's 65th birthday provided the backdrop for the breaking point in this family drama. Mom had planned a small celebration at their house, just immediate family, given the ongoing tensions. She'd asked everyone to put aside their differences for one afternoon to honor Dad. I arrived early to help with preparations, setting up the backyard with balloons and a happy birthday banner. Mom was in the kitchen finalizing the cake, Dad's favorite lemon with cream cheese frosting. We worked in companionable silence, both apprehensive about the gathering but determined to make it pleasant for Dad's sake. Marcus arrived with the twins at 2 p.m., right on schedule. They ran to me immediately, and I hugged them tightly, having missed them desperately. Ethan presented me with a handmade card covered in dinosaur stickers, while Emma chattered excitedly about her new shoes. Marcus looked tired, but managed a genuine smile at the children's excitement. Vanessa's running late, he explained. She'll be here soon. Dad joined us in the backyard, delighted with his grandchildren's enthusiastic birthday wishes. For a while, it seemed like we might actually have a normal family gathering. The twins helped Mom bring out snacks, Marcus and Dad discussed an upcoming baseball game, and I relaxed slightly, hoping Vanessa's late arrival might mean she decided to skip the event altogether. No such luck. At nearly 3 p.m., an hour after the party's start time, Vanessa finally arrived. Her appearance was shocking. Her usually immaculate hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, her clothes were wrinkled, and her eyes had dark circles beneath them. She carried a hastily wrapped present and didn't apologize for her tardiness. "Happy birthday, Howard," she said, handing the gift to my father with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Thank you, Vanessa. Glad you could make it," Dad replied kindly, always the diplomat. Throughout the afternoon, I noticed Vanessa making frequent trips to the cooler of drinks, helping herself to the white wine Mom had provided. By the time we gathered around the picnic table for cake, she'd had at least 3 glasses and was showing signs of tipsiness, louder laughter, slightly slurred speech, and a loosening of her usually rigid posture. The twins stayed close to me throughout the party, showing me their toys, asking me to push them on the swing set, and generally acting as if I'd never been absent from their lives. This clearly agitated Vanessa, who watched with increasing annoyance as they gravitated to me instead of her. After cake and presents, the adults sat on the patio while the twins played on the lawn. Vanessa, now on her 4th glass of wine, kept staring at me with barely concealed hostility. "You know," she said suddenly, her voice cutting through a lull in conversation, "it's interesting how children forget so quickly. A few weeks without seeing Aunt Charlotte, and now they're acting like she's their favorite person again." "Children are forgiving," Mom replied neutrally. "It's a quality adults could learn from." "Or maybe they're just easily manipulated," Vanessa countered, swirling her wine. "Charlotte's always been good at that, making everyone think she's so perfect." Marcus tensed beside me. "Vanessa, this isn't the time or place." "When is the time, Marcus?" "You've been avoiding the conversation for weeks." Her words were becoming more slurred. "Everyone's treating Charlotte like some kind of victim, but she's the one who abandoned her commitments. After you called the police on me," I reminded her quietly, trying to keep my composure. "Oh, here we go again with that." Vanessa rolled her eyes dramatically. "One little phone call, and she falls apart." Dad intervened, attempting to change the subject. "How about we open another present?" But Vanessa wasn't finished. "You want to know the truth?" she asked, leaning forward unsteadily. "I called the police to teach Charlotte a lesson. She needed to understand those are my children, not hers." She was getting too attached, acting like their mother instead of their aunt. The patio fell silent. Even the twins, sensing the tension, stopped playing and looked over. "You did what?" Marcus asked, his voice dangerously quiet. "Oh, don't act surprised." Vanessa scoffed. "You know how she is with them. Always trying to one-up me, showing off her nursing knowledge, making me look incompetent. Someone needed to put her in her place." I sat frozen, both vindicated and horrified by her admission. All these weeks, I'd wondered if I'd overreacted, if perhaps Vanessa had genuinely believed Ethan was in danger. Now the truth was laid bare. She'd weaponized law enforcement in a petty power play. Marcus stood up slowly. "Let me get this straight. You called the police on my sister, risked her reputation and career, traumatized our children. All because you were jealous of her relationship with them." "Don't be so dramatic," Vanessa slurred. "Nothing happened to her. The cops saw it was nothing." "That's not the point." Marcus's voice rose. "You filed a false report. You lied to the police. You've been lying to everyone, including our children, telling them Charlotte doesn't want to see them." Mom quickly moved toward the twins. "Come on, sweethearts, let's go inside and find some ice cream." She ushered them into the house, Dad following to assist, leaving the 3 of us on the patio. Once the children were out of earshot, Marcus continued, his anger now unleashed. "All this time, you've been making Charlotte out to be the villain when you deliberately tried to hurt her. And for what? Because she loves our kids? Because they love her?" "They're my kids," Vanessa shouted, standing unsteadily. She needs to get her own family, and stop trying to steal mine. Charlotte didn't steal anything, Marcus replied coldly. She gave our children love and attention, which is more than you've been doing lately. All you do is complain about how hard everything is, how no one helps you enough, how everyone's against you. Throughout this exchange, I remained seated, watching the marriage implode before my eyes. Part of me wanted to intervene, to de-escalate, but another part recognized this confrontation was long overdue. Vanessa turned to me, eyes blazing. This is all your fault. Everything was fine until you turned everyone against me. I didn't turn anyone against you, Vanessa, I replied calmly. Your actions did that. Always so perfect, aren't you? She spat. Perfect Aunt Charlotte who never makes mistakes, who everyone loves more than me. This isn't about me, I said. It's about what you did and the fact that you still don't see anything wrong with it. Because there wasn't anything wrong with it, she insisted. I was protecting my family. From what? Marcus demanded. From someone who loves them? From someone who's been there for them unconditionally? From someone who's never asked for anything in return for the countless hours she spent caring for our children? Vanessa had no answer for that. She grabbed her purse and stumbled toward the gate. I'm not listening to this anymore. You've all made up your minds anyway. Vanessa, you're in no condition to drive, Marcus called after her. Don't tell me what to do, she shouted back, fumbling with her car keys. Marcus followed her, taking the keys from her hand. I'll call you an Uber. We're not adding a DUI to today's disasters. While Marcus dealt with Vanessa's departure, I sat alone on the patio, processing what had just happened. The confirmation that Vanessa had deliberately called the police to teach me a lesson was both vindicating and deeply disturbing. It revealed a level of calculation and malice I hadn't fully appreciated before. When Marcus returned, he sat heavily in the chair beside me. I'm so sorry, Charlotte. I had no idea she did that intentionally. I suspected. I admitted, but hearing her say it out loud. This marriage is over, he said with quiet certainty. I should have ended it weeks ago. Mom and Dad came back outside, having settled the twins with a movie inside. Is she gone? Mom asked. Marcus nodded. I put her in an Uber. She's heading to her sister's place. What about the twins? I asked. They're staying with me tonight, Marcus replied. We'll figure out the rest tomorrow. For the first time in 6 weeks, I felt the tension in my shoulders release slightly. Vanessa's true colors had been revealed to everyone. Not just me. The family had witnessed her unfiltered jealousy and manipulation firsthand. While I took no pleasure in the collapse of my brother's marriage, there was relief in having the truth acknowledged. We're sorry we didn't see it sooner, Dad said, placing a hand on my shoulder. We should have believed you from the beginning. You're trying to be fair to everyone, I assured him. It's what good parents do. As the evening wound down, with Vanessa gone and the truth exposed, a new sense of solidarity formed among those of us remaining. This wasn't the happy birthday celebration we'd planned for Dad, but perhaps it was the catalyst our family needed to begin healing. The days following Dad's birthday party brought rapid changes to our family dynamic. True to his word, Marcus asked Vanessa for a trial separation the very next morning. According to him, she oscillated between rage and tearful pleas for another chance, but he remained firm. By the end of the week, she had moved in with her sister Pamela across town, taking only her personal belongings. With Vanessa out of the house, Marcus faced the challenge of balancing his full-time job with caring for the twins. When he called to ask if I would consider helping with childcare again, I agreed, but with clear parameters. I'm happy to watch them 2 days a week, I told him. But this is temporary, while you figure out a more permanent arrangement. And I want to be clear, I'm doing this for you and the twins, not as a return to the previous situation. My first day back with Ethan and Emma was emotional for all of us. They ran to me when I arrived at Marcus's house, hugging me tightly and talking over each other in their excitement to tell me everything I'd missed. We got new puzzles, Emma exclaimed. And I lost a tooth, Ethan added, showing me the gap in his smile. I've missed you both so much, I told him honestly, kneeling to their level for proper hugs. While the twins were thrilled to have me back in their lives, I noticed subtle changes in their behavior. Emma was more clingy than before, following me from room to room as if afraid I might disappear again. Ethan had developed a habit of asking, "Are you coming back tomorrow?" at the end of each visit, needing constant reassurance about my presence in his life. These changes broke my heart but also strengthened my resolve to be a stable, consistent figure for them during this turbulent time. I worked with Marcus to establish a predictable schedule they could count on. I would watch them every Tuesday and Thursday, and we would have Sunday lunch together as a family. The arrangement wasn't without its complications. Vanessa initially objected to my involvement, insisting to Marcus that she should be the one caring for the children during his work hours. When he pointed out that her own work schedule, she'd found a new retail position, made that impossible, she suggested her sister Pamela instead. Marcus stood firm, and eventually, Vanessa seemed to accept the new arrangement, though not gracefully. About 2 weeks into the separation, Marcus filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. "It's not just about what happened with you," he explained to me over coffee one morning after I'd arrived to watch the twins. That was the breaking point, but looking back, there were problems for years. Her need for control, her inability to take responsibility for anything, her constant victim mentality, I just couldn't see it clearly until recently. I felt a twinge of guilt, wondering if I'd somehow catalyzed the end of his marriage. "Are you sure this isn't my fault? I never wanted to come between you and Vanessa." "Charlotte, this is absolutely not your fault," Marcus insisted. "If anything, you've been too accommodating over the years. Vanessa's behavior toward you was completely unacceptable. and it opened my eyes to patterns I'd been ignoring. You didn't break up my marriage. You just helped me see it was already broken. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that if I'd handled things differently, if I'd been more patient with Vanessa's insecurities, more understanding of her perspective, perhaps the outcome would have been different. I brought these concerns to my next therapy session with Dr. Samantha Reed. It's natural to feel responsible, she assured me. But, remember, you didn't call the police over a minor injury. You didn't lie to the children about why they couldn't see a loved one. You set a healthy boundary after being mistreated, which is exactly what you should have done. Her words helped, but the real healing came through the family therapy sessions Marcus had arranged for himself, the twins, and occasionally me with Dr. Blake Henderson. These sessions provided a safe space for the children to express their confusion and fear about the family changes. Mommy said you didn't want to see us anymore, Emma told me during one session, her small face serious. But Daddy said that wasn't true. It wasn't true at all, I assured her, fighting back tears. I always wanted to see you. I missed you every single day. Then why didn't you come? Ethan asked plaintively. Dr. Henderson helped me explain in age-appropriate terms. Sometimes grown-ups have disagreements that make it hard for them to be around each other. It wasn't about not wanting to see you. It was about Aunt Charlotte and your mom needing some space from each other. The twins seemed to accept this explanation, and over time, their anxiety about my presence decreased. They stopped asking if I was coming back and began to trust in the new routine we'd established. Vanessa, meanwhile, refused to participate in the family therapy sessions, telling Marcus they were unnecessary and that the children were perfectly fine. She did, however, meet with Dr. Henderson once individually at the therapist's request. According to Marcus, she spent the session defending her actions and blaming others for the family breakdown. Despite her resistance to therapy, Vanessa did make efforts to maintain her relationship with the twins during her parenting time. She had them 3 days a week, while Marcus had them for 4, including the 2 days I helped with childcare. This arrangement, while not formalized by the court yet, seemed to be working reasonably well for the children. As weeks passed, Marcus and I established a new sibling relationship, stronger than before, but with clearer boundaries. We no longer relied on implied expectations or unspoken assumptions. If he needed additional help with the twins, he asked directly, and I felt comfortable saying no if it didn't work for my schedule. This new dynamic was healthier for both of us. Our community rallied around us in unexpected ways. My friend Olivia organized a weekly playdate for the twins and her son Jackson. Marcus's colleague Peter, a single father himself, offered practical advice about co-parenting after divorce. Even my neighbor, Mrs. Sullivan, an elderly widow, volunteered to watch the twins occasionally when both Marcus and I had commitments. Through it all, I was careful not to badmouth Vanessa to the children. Whatever her flaws as a sister-in-law, she was still their mother, and they loved her. When they returned from time with her and shared stories about what they'd done, I listened with genuine interest and positive reinforcement. Mommy took us to the zoo, and we saw penguins. Emma would exclaim, "That sounds wonderful." I'd reply, "Penguins are so cool." Did they swim while you watched them? This neutral, supportive approach seemed to help the children navigate their new reality without feeling caught in the middle. Dr. Henderson commended this strategy during our sessions, noting that the twins showed fewer signs of stress than many children in similar situations. About 4 months after the separation, I met Julian Parker, a kind elementary school teacher, at a community fundraiser. Our connection was immediate and we began dating casually. I was upfront with him about the family situation and my commitments to the twins. Far from being deterred, he seemed impressed by my dedication to my niece and nephew. "Family is important," he said simply. "You're doing the right thing." Julian's support and understanding added another positive dimension to my life, helping me remember that while being an aunt was an important role, it wasn't my only identity. We enjoyed quiet dinners, hiking trips, and cultural events on the days I wasn't with the twins, bringing a welcome balance to my life. As the 6-month mark of the original incident approached, I reflected on how much had changed. What had begun as a terrible, hurtful experience had ultimately led to healthier relationships and clearer boundaries for everyone. The twins were adjusting well to their new normal. Marcus seemed relieved and more relaxed despite the stress of divorce proceedings, and I had found a way to be present for my family without sacrificing my own well-being. 6 months after Vanessa called the police on me, our family had settled into a new equilibrium that, while different from before, felt more authentic and sustainable. Marcus and Vanessa's divorce was proceeding with custody arrangements being the primary focus of mediation. The temporary schedule they'd established, Marcus having the twins 4 days a week, Vanessa 3, was working well enough that their lawyers recommended making it permanent. My role as aunt had been clearly redefined. I spent Tuesdays and Thursdays with the twins while Marcus worked, plus occasional weekends and family gatherings. This arrangement gave me the joy of being part of their lives without the burden of being their primary caregiver. I'd rediscovered my own interests and social life, creating a healthier balance than before. Perhaps the most surprising development came during a custody mediation session when Vanessa apparently acknowledged, however grudgingly, that her reaction to Ethan's minor injury had been excessive. According to Marcus, she didn't offer a direct apology but did admit that calling the police might have been an overreaction to the situation. This small concession, while far from the genuine accountability I might have hoped for, represented progress. It suggested that even Vanessa recognized, on some level, that her behavior that day had crossed a line. The twins continued to thrive despite the family changes. Their preschool teacher reported that the behavioral issues they'd exhibited during the height of the conflict had largely resolved. Emma remained my little chatterbox, filling our days together with endless stories and questions. Ethan had developed a newfound interest in dinosaurs, proudly showing me his growing collection of plastic prehistoric creatures. And Charlotte, did you know that Triceratops had 3 horns to protect itself from T-Rex? He informed me seriously during one of our days together. I did not know that. I replied with equal seriousness. That's very smart of them. Yeah, they had to protect themselves, he said, then added thoughtfully, like how Daddy protects us now. His innocent comment revealed how much he understood about the family changes in his 4-year-old way. The children were processing the new reality in their own terms, finding ways to make sense of it that felt safe and comprehensible to them. Our family holiday gathering that November was smaller than in previous years, but infinitely more peaceful. Vanessa had the twins for Thanksgiving morning, then Marcus picked them up for dinner at our parents' house. The children arrived excited to see everyone, quickly adapting to the dual celebrations that would become their new normal for holidays. I got to have 2 turkeys today, Emma announced proudly as she entered the house. One at Mommy's and one here. That sounds like double the fun, Mom replied, hugging her granddaughter tightly. Julian joined us for dinner, his first major family event with me. He integrated seamlessly, helping Dad carve the turkey and engaging the twins in a silly game of guess the animal that had them giggling uncontrollably. Watching him with my family, I felt a warmth and rightness that had been missing from my life for some time. The following week brought an unexpected moment of civil interaction with Vanessa. I was dropping the twins off after our regular Thursday together when she arrived early for her weekend with them. Typically, we arranged handoffs to avoid direct contact, but this accidental meeting couldn't be prevented. We stood awkwardly in Marcus's driveway as the twins gathered their backpacks for my car. They seem happy, Vanessa commented, watching them. They had a good day, I replied neutrally. We made holiday ornaments at the community center craft fair. She nodded, then said something that caught me completely off guard. It's good they have you in their lives. They've always been attached to you. The statement wasn't quite an apology or an admission of wrongdoing, but it was the closest thing to an olive branch she'd offered in 6 months. I decided to accept it in the spirit it seemed to be given. They're amazing kids, I replied simply. I'm lucky to be their aunt. Our interaction lasted less than a minute, but it felt significant, a tacit acknowledgement that whatever our personal feelings, we both value the children's well-being above our conflict. As the year drew to a close, I found myself reflecting on the journey of the past 6 months. The incident that had seemed so devastating at the time had ultimately led to positive changes in my life. I'd learned to set and maintain healthy boundaries, even when doing so was painful. I discovered a resilience I hadn't known I possessed. And, perhaps most importantly, I'd learned that standing up for myself didn't mean losing the relationships that mattered most to me. During my final therapy session of the year with Dr. Reed, I shared these reflections. It sounds like you've come to a place of real peace with the situation, she observed. I have. I agreed. I won't pretend it wasn't incredibly difficult, and there are still awkward moments, but overall, I think everyone is in a healthier place now, especially the twins. And what about you? She asked. How have you changed through this experience? I considered the question carefully. I'm more assertive now. I said finally. I used to worry so much about keeping the peace that I'd ignore red flags or accept treatment I shouldn't have. Now I understand that healthy relationships require honest communication and mutual respect even when that's uncomfortable in the moment. The following Sunday, Marcus and I took the twins ice skating at the holiday rink in the town square. As I watched him patiently teaching Emma to glide without falling, I felt a surge of pride in my brother. He'd faced an impossible situation and made the difficult choices necessary to create a healthier environment for his children. Thank you, he said later, as we sat on a bench watching the twins throw bread to ducks in the park pond. For everything. For being there for the kids, for standing your ground when I couldn't see things clearly, for not saying, I told you so, even though you'd have every right. That's what family does, I replied. The real kind of family. Not the perfect Instagram version, but the messy, complicated, showing up when it matters kind. We're going to be okay, aren't we? He asked, watching his children with a mixture of love and concern. All of us. We already are, I assured him, and in that moment, I truly believed it. As I look toward the future, I'm no longer afraid of Vanessa's impact on my life. I've established boundaries that protect me while allowing me to maintain my cherished relationship with Ethan and Emma. Marcus is finding his footing as a single father, growing more confident every day. The twins are resilient and adaptable, as children often are when surrounded by love and stability. And me? I'm moving forward with a clearer understanding of my worth and the courage to protect it. Sometimes standing your ground means watching someone else's carefully constructed reality crumble. But from those ruins, something more authentic and sustainable can emerge if you're brave enough to wait for the dust to settle. What would you have done in my situation? Would you have stood your ground or tried to make peace for the sake of family harmony? Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you found this story meaningful. I'm grateful to each of you for listening and being part of this journey with me. Remember, sometimes the hardest battles lead to the most important victories. Take care of yourselves and honor your own boundaries. You deserve nothing less.